just had an update from Messrs Pearce and Maguire.
Yes.
The man we thought was a minder swearing at us, telling our reporter to F off.
He works in the
just had paper by the taxpayer.
I just had a reaction.
What's his name?
From one of the
Robert
minders.
Oxley.
Robert Oxley,
Yep.
the press secretary.
Press secretary to the Prime Minister.
Wow, so the Prime Minister's press secretary telling us to basically go forth and multiply this morning.
To a member of the press?
Because we had the audacity
To ask for
ask the
interview.
Prime Minister to keep his word that he gave on this programme to you, the viewers, to talk to us before the election.
Do you know
And
what?
when we had the audacity to ask the Prime Minister, because he hasn't kept his promise, his own press secretary tells our journalist to bleep, bleep, bleep. Aren't they lovely people?
Do you think that's weird? And I mean, I cringed at that. I was intimidated
Well,
by that. I
assumed he
thought
was
he
a
was a
bodyguard.
minder or a bodyguard.
No. Look, he is somebody paid by the public. He's probably taken unpaid leave for the duration of the campaign, and that was thuggish behaviour.
Yeah.
But what's fantastic is you have exposed how they are running their campaign.
Yeah.
Because normally what they want is only viewers to see the clip of him delivering milk with Get Brexit done on the crate. But you showed the whole operation, how it's constructed, it's confected, and people like him are stopping legitimate questions to
And
the
doing
Prime
so
Minister.
very aggressively.
Oh, yeah.
And just to remind people, we're just asking Boris Johnson to keep the promise he made. In fact, let's play the promise that
From the
provoked
Conservative Party
us
conference.
turning up today to try and get Boris Johnson to talk to us, because this is what he actually told our viewers 2 months ago.
You're live on Good Morning Britain.
I know. How are you?
We are very well.
Tell Piers I'll come on his show as soon as I can.
Wait, you can do it right now, Prime Minister.
Go on,
Yes,
on you
good
come,
morning,
Boris.
Britain. Good morning, Piers and Susanna. I'm so sorry that we're missing you today, but I've got to go and do the Today programme. I've literally got to go and do the Today
Well,
programme.
will you promise to come on our show to our viewers, because they are your voters, as many
know,
people
and
are
of course.
potentially. So, when will you come on?
I like that qualification.
When will you come on?
I'm going to come on as soon as I possibly can.
In the next week or two, we'd like to see you.
You bet.
You bet. I didn't take that bet because that was 2 months ago. So that's why we turned up this morning at his dairy farm stunt, where he wants us to show he's got lots of bottle. Actually, he hasn't got lots of bottle. Have you, Boris? Because if you had, you'd have kept your promise to come on the programme.
Jonathan Swain's there.
Where's Swainey? So Swainey, it turns out that guy wasn't a bodyguard. He was the Prime Minister's press secretary.
Oh, yeah, and I just had an absolute earful from him. They are absolutely furious
what
of
did he
what
say?
just happened this morning. And what he thinks it's a stunt. Why did we turn up? We weren't invited, etc. We've got in the way of everybody else's shots. And I said, look, OK, but look, here's the earpiece here. Spend 5 minutes. He's sat in the car now for 5 minutes, Boris Johnson. He could be talking to you guys on air and delivering his manifesto and his promises to the electorate, which, as we need to hear from him. He is the Tory party leader. It's the last day of the campaigning. I explained that. He said, we will give you an interview, but it won't be today. I was like, well,
it can't be
if
any
it's
other
not
day.
Today, when is it going to be?
If
This
it's
is
not
the
today,
last,
it won't be
this is
before
the
the
last day of the election.
And that was the promise he made to us. And also, I'd like to know what Mr Oxley, who's a press secretary, I'd like to know what the hell he thinks he's doing, talking to you in that way and being that physically aggressive with you. That's not the behaviour we expect from a press secretary whose salary, by the way, will be paid ultimately by we, the taxpayer. Right? It's outrageous. And the only reason to remind viewers again why Swainey's there trying to get this is to get Boris Johnson to keep his promise. This is the last morning before the election he can actually give us an interview.
Well, I did give him a bit of a mouthful back, saying, well, look, just come on the show and do an interview. It's as simple as that. Why don't you control the message? Otherwise, as what's happened this morning is not what we intended. We just wanted to turn up and politely ask the Prime Minister for an interview, which he promised, as you say, weeks ago. I should just say that possibly the plans have now changed because he did deliver just a quick 30-second clip to the media about usual mandate, more money for schools and hospitals, etc. But now we've seen some of the police have just arrived as well. The Prime Minister, it's very dark, appreciate it, there's no light here this morning. We're in a car park just outside Leeds, but there's the Range Rover there, and the Prime Minister is now in there. I don't quite know what the plans are from now.
OK, well,
we also
here's the
have some
thing.
police
Keep on
officers,
them.
here as well.
Keep on. The clock is ticking. We are available to the Prime Minister to keep his word before the election. So today's the last morning. We can't do any election coverage tomorrow on polling day. He's got under 2 hours now. He's got 1 hour and 20-odd minutes, right? No, he's got... How long has he got?
Well, he's got until 8:30.
He's got 1 hour, 40 minutes. 1 hour, 40 minutes to keep his word and tell Mr Oxley to stop abusing you and stop using foul language, and stop physically barring you from getting near the Prime Minister, whose salary is paid for by us, and to keep persisting, to keep his word. And the clock is ticking. Thank you, Swaney. Great work.
Jonathan, thanks very much indeed.
See, these political leaders are always bad. Where is Corbyn too? Have you had him on this programme?
He hasn't been on for 995 days.
How long?
995 days.
Hang on, but just focusing on this on a moment. The stunt is Johnson moving bottles around.
Yeah.
And what they want is a clip on the news, and it just looks like he's a man of action. He's not going to bottle it. But you see, behind the scenes, he has an army of thuggy spin doctors who don't want anything to get in the way of seeing that picture.
Yeah, but what about Tory?
They would not.
But that was actually an ugly moment.
It was.
And when you find out it's the press secretary that's orchestrating it and abusing our journalist, who's only asking Boris Johnson to keep his word.
But it goes on all the time on both sides.
No.
Yes, it does,
it's been of a different...
The difference is, Andrew, we don't see it on camera like that.
It's a different level.
And when you see it laid bare on camera, you realise just what they're doing behind the scenes.
Everything is not always the same. It's been a different level by the Conservatives in this campaign. For instance, I think it should be on the record which from the government, who from the Tories, told reporters outside Leeds Hospital...
There's been an incident, I agree.
That Matt Hancock's special advisor had been assaulted.
That was more of a punch, frankly, than the one we saw outside the hospital.
Well, you actually see... Yeah, you see there, and it's a public service.
It's outrageous.
That you actually see what happens. This is the real election campaign. It's not all those silly clips of people posing and Johnson or Corbyn or Joe Swinson or anybody else doing something silly. It is what they do behind.
Hang around if you can, because we're going to be grilling first a Lib Dem and a Labour. I want to come back to you, I think, in between, if that's all right.
We've got the president of the Liberal Democrats coming up in just a moment, and also Laura Pidcock from Labour, who is tipped, I believe, as a possible future leader.
It'd be good to get your reaction to these interviews, because they're coming on, Boris bottling it, and the other parties want to engage. So,
it's all to play for tomorrow.
Your competition is a chance to go and grill Boris Johnson. No, it's not. To win
You
a
might not
festive
get very
prize
far.
worth over £220,000. Here's Andy Peters with all the details.
Morning, winter's definitely here and we've got a red hot prize that will warm you right up. It all starts with one of these. It's a brand new Audi e-tron. It's the most environmentally friendly vehicle in the Audi range and it's fully electric and is worth over £70,000. But not only that, you'll also win a